In this video, I want to compare Michael Jordan's game-worn 1984 Nike Air Ships with his game-worn 1985 Air Jordan 1s. And what an amazing once-in-a-lifetime opportunity this is for me. These shoes are actually hitting the auction block on April 8th, ending on April 25th. Go to scpauctions.com for your chance to bid on a real piece of history. In all my years of sneaker collecting, I've never, ever seen a game-worn pair of Michael Jordan's Air Ships, and I feel so lucky to get to walk you through the similarities and differences between these two shoes. So we know that the Air Ship was the prototype to the Air Jordan 1, and it was the first pair of basketball shoes worn by Michael Jordan in the NBA. Before he ever laced up Air Jordan 1s, MJ was rocking Air Ships. Nike made at least 5 different colors of the Air Ship: white and red, white and gray, black and red, white and navy, and a second version of white and navy. We all know that the Air Jordan 1 came out in a whole bunch of different colors. Of the Air Ships, MJ wore 3 of the colors: white and red, white and gray, and black and red. And the black and red Air Ships were actually banned by the NBA. As for the Air Jordan 1s, this is the color that Michael Jordan wore the most. He also wore the black toe Air Jordan 1s, but in a game, it's never ever been spotted Michael Jordan wearing black and red Air Jordan 1s. The first time MJ laced up a pair of Air Jordan 1s was November 17th. There's actually a letter from the NBA to Nike saying that Michael Jordan violated the uniformity of uniform policy on October 18th. This was almost 1 month before Michael ever laced up a pair of Air Jordan 1s. The shoes that were banned by the NBA were the Air Ships. I'm so excited to get to walk you through the similarities and differences between these shoes. They're obviously both the Chicago Bulls colorways, but I want to show you all of the details. So when you look at the colors of the shoes, you can tell mainly that the addition of black is on the Bulls 1, whereas the Air Ships are all white and red. Come on up and let's have a look at these shoes next to one another. And I actually want to start with the sizes. So let's look at the left shoe right here, size 13. And then we'll look at the right shoe over here, which is size 13 and a half. And then on the Air Jordan 1, the left shoe, size 13. The right shoe is also a size 13 and a half. So way back, all the way to the early days of 1984, Michael Jordan was lacing up a different size shoe on his left foot than his right foot. Some other thing to notice about the sizing, when you look up here and you see just the 13 and a half, there's no date of production and it doesn't say TYPS on here. When you compare that to the Air Jordan 1, next to the size is a date of production that begins with 85 because the shoes are from 1985, and then it says TYPS over here, which stands for Tom Yang Promo Sample. Most of the player-exclusive shoes from the early 80s, like Air Jordan 1s and Air Force 1s and other Air Ships that were made for other players, will have that date of production on there and that TYPS. Actually, let me break out another pair of Air Ships and show you. These Air Ships were game worn by Larry Nance, and you're probably looking at them and thinking, wow, those are big shoes. And they are. Look at these side by side. The Larry Nance shoes are high tops, whereas the Air Jordan prototypes are mid tops. There's actually 9 lace holes on this shoe versus 8 on this shoe. And actually on the Air Jordan 1 over here, there's 9 lace holes. But back to the sizing, when you look at the inner collar right here, you'll see these are 15 and a half, and then it has this date, 1984, 03, 04, TYPS1. And that's very, very different than what you see here, where you just have a size. Pretty crazy. And just another reason that these Air Ships were made specifically for Michael Jordan. Like, how crazy is that? I feel so lucky to have these shoes right in front of me. Let's get back to comparing them side by side. So we said that the lace holes are 8 here and 9 here. But check out this ingenious lacing system right here with this lateral strap. The laces go through these holes and then holes underneath here. And there's actually a little V cut in the leather underneath for added flexibility. When you compare that to the Air Jordan 1, you can't cram your finger through here. It's a lot more seamless. Now, don't get me wrong, of course, there's definitely stitching on here, but the laces only go through one hole. Just like how Nike made this panel right here on the bottom, on the Air Jordan 1, they also added a panel up top here. And when you compare it to the Air Ship, you'll notice that there is no added panel up here. You'll also, of course, notice that there's no Air Jordan branding. On the Air Jordan 1 down here, you have the Air Jordan Wings logo. Over here, no Air Jordan branding at all. Since we're staring at Michael Jordan's signature over here, we might as well compare the signatures on these two shoes. So the left shoe, signed by Michael Jordan, number 23, and also dated 12/2/84. These were dated by the ball boy when Michael Jordan handed these shoes to him at the Great Western Forum when the Bulls beat the Lakers by 1 point 31 years ago. When we look at the right shoe over here, similarly, it's also signed by Michael Jordan, number 23, and then dated 12/2/84. The Air Jordan 1s are only signed in one place, right here. It looks like a Sharpie pen, or at least a much fatter pen than what was used on this signature. And there's no date inscribed on these Air Jordan 1s. Let's look at the toe boxes of these shoes. Look at how worn they are. It's like crazy. Later on in Michael Jordan's career, he laced up a new pair of shoes every single game. So his shoes never looked so beat up and worn out, just like these, and especially like these. These Air Ships have definitely seen the hardwood for a number of games. Check out all of the scuffing, the yellowing coming through here. You can see that the upper is slightly separating from the midsole. MJ definitely rocked these shoes a lot and probably broke a lot of ankles in these shoes. Amazing to have them in front of me. It's just so crazy. And now let's have a look at the outsoles. They also show a ton of wear on here. Look up here. It's like all worn off where there would have been stars. You could almost go ice skating in this pair of shoes. Similarly, on the Air Jordan 1 over here, they've been worn a lot, but not nearly as much. Like, I want to really compare the outsoles, and you can see the stars have really been eroded on the Air Ship, and here they're like slightly worn down, but not nearly as much. So crazy. Also, while we're looking at the outsoles of these shoes, we got to bring back these Larry Nance shoes. Check out the difference between the ones made for Michael Jordan and Larry Nance's. In particular, this big gap hole right here and the asymmetrical part in the middle that says Nike. Right here, the outsole looks a lot like the Air Jordan 1. It's actually identical. So for Michael Jordan's Air Ships, they made modifications, not just removing one lace, making it slightly lower, but also a different outsole, especially at the back. That's a cool little detail. And also, when we're checking out these Air Ships over here, you'll notice it says Nike on here. Reminds me of the Air Force Ones that would have said Air. And then you've got this extended midsole right here. Look at that, though. Compare it with the shoe for Michael Jordan. Doesn't say Nike in here. Doesn't have that extra elongated part of the midsole. Pretty crazy. And when you compare this to the Air Jordan 1, it's virtually identical. How crazy is that? Like, Michael Jordan's Air Ship is really the prototype to the Air Jordan 1 and is different than Air Ships made for the public and even made for other players in the NBA. These shoes are just incredible, and it's crazy that a 16-year-old ball boy asked a rookie Michael Jordan if he could have his shoes after the game. Let's look at the backs of these shoes. You'll notice on the back of the Air Ship it says Nike Air. On the back of the Air Jordan, doesn't say anything at all. You're also going to notice this extra white panel that goes from Nike Air all the way down to the midsole. Whereas on the Air Jordan 1, there's just this little red nub right here that sort of connects the swooshes. See, look, you've got this black swoosh that wraps around the back. There's a little red nub, and then it forms another black swoosh over here. When you look at the Ship, it's really an elongated red swoosh that wraps around back here and goes underneath this extended panel and then becomes another red swoosh over here. Just amazing. Another detail that I really want to show you is the insoles of these shoes. I know you know what's in here. Let's have a look. Nike Air. See that down there? Let's have a look at the Airship. This is crazy what's in here. So it also says Nike Air, but there's like a funky sticker on there. It says date, color, made in Korea. You can't really read any of the writing on here, but I guarantee you it's all of the little details that they had to make sure that this shoe would be perfect for Michael Jordan. How crazy is this? I mean, seriously, how crazy is this? The prototype to the Air Jordan 1, game worn by Michael Jordan back in 1984, before he ever laced up the Air Jordan 1s. And they're available for auction from April 8th to April 25th at scpauctions.com. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.